I've got DIY EVAP leak tester in a can. Yes, it does work because I've been doing it the poor man's way for a very long time, and I'll explain this more in the end. So when we open it up, let's take a look in here. This is actually interesting what we see inside this device. As you can see, we just have standard hoses there. But what's even more impressive, especially for something that's made in China, this piece of metal here, this is billet. This is billet aluminum. You can hear the noise from running my fingernail. Same thing on this big container. They turned this thing down. This wasn't made very cheap. Also, this is powdered metal. You can see they made custom tooling to do powder metal. This was all designed just for this, and they even used brass down here. Continuous compression clamps with the band clamps. They didn't even spare expenses here. They put a spring on to make sure the pressure gauge hose doesn't kink over time. So for 145 bucks off eBay is where I got this one. This isn't really that bad of a piece of device here. This seems like a quality instrument from what I can see. View of the pump. And that's the thermistor that's going to cut you out for after 8 minutes of runtime. So it says make sure there's not more than 20 in it, but make sure it's within 10 to 30. So we fill the shot glass with some water, and this guy, he doesn't really smile at me anymore after all the things he saw in college. So there's 20 milliliters. And I'm going to mark that line here so that I know how much baby oil to put in here. If anybody plugs their laptop cable into the wall outlet for this box, and I'm pretty sure it's going to let a lot of smoke out, please post that video. Okay, so you have to hook this up to a 12-volt battery. My kid's at school, so he won't mind using it. So as you can see, it starts pumping air immediately as you hook up the 12 volts, and there's no way to turn that off. So you can try to put a switch maybe in one of these. So then to get the smoke, you turn it to on. And I'm going to clearly edit this video so that we don't wait for this to heat up. And this stuff stinks like kerosene from a torpedo heater. But if we push down on this, let's see how much pressure this pump can do. Also, if you wanted to check for vacuum leaks on a regular car, you can guarantee it to a really high pressure or even flush out the weak spots in your system. Whoa! Purchased this flow meter off Amazon for 20 bucks. So here's what it looks like. This one goes 0 to 10. I couldn't find any 0 to 6s. Supposedly this machine's rated to 6, but we'll find out shortly. Other YouTube channels showcase their talents polishing headlights and ceramic coating cars. It inspired me to use their talent abilities to masking tape it to the side of my device. Now what we're going to do here is hook it up, and let's see how much flow this guy actually can do. So it's steady state, wide open, roughly 8. Alright, as you can see, it's smoking. So one of the concerns I had when thinking about putting a flow meter just in a line like this was the mineral oil in all these different smoke machines. I was always wondering, it's got to condense, right? You can't just throw it into a charcoal filter and expect it not to get absorbed into charcoal. And here you can see there's the oil. The mineral oil is slightly baked, which is why it turns into a vapor. But you can see it coats, it builds up. So these smoke machines are something you probably want to be careful with how you use them. And a lot of the shops out there have all the different brands of smoke machines with mineral oil, which is pretty much all of them. And this buildup here, if you just slap it onto a throttle body and pressurize the intake, that mineral oil could go past the seals in the electronic throttle body and get onto the brushes or get onto the electronics, the DC motor in the throttle bodies and gunk up. The second thing is if you put this thing into an exhaust pipe, now I'm not saying this machine, I'm just saying these machines that use mineral oil in general, that stuff's going to go into the catalytic converter. Maybe it gets burned off and goes back out, I don't know. But you definitely do not want to put a clamp right onto where your air filter was and then start flowing smoke in and getting it all over your mass airflow sensor. So if you need a refrigerant leak detector, then you must need a refrigerant. Nope, not 132a. This is illegal to vent to the atmosphere. Even though it doesn't deplete the ozone, it warms a globe way more than a cow fart. So who is this guy? Refrigerant 152a. That's right, this is a refrigerant you buy anywhere, almost everywhere in the US. People vent this to the atmosphere all the time. It just warms the atmosphere very close to what a cow fart is. So who is it? It's electronics duster. Yep, that's right, electronics duster. And the reason that it works is because it's difluoroethane, which is HFC 152a. It's a refrigerant. So when you pressurize the system with a refrigerant or a gas that's not going to coat anything in your interior and will leave no traces after the vehicle's running again, you can use a refrigerant leak detector and find really tiny leaks around all the fittings or up and down the hoses. For about $28, you can pick up a refrigerant gas leak detector on Amazon, and that works with the EVAP tester in a can. Let's play Find a Leak. With these few basic fittings, you can purchase them on Amazon or anywhere. Make them yourself, use a bunch of duct tape or something to make a nice solid seal between your EVAP and a canister. You can see the inside diameter works perfect for those cans when you buy them at your store. The best way to use this stuff, in my opinion, to troubleshoot, is you hook this up to your EVAP system under the hood. This hose slides perfectly over the nozzle that comes from the store, and you just keep spraying it through the system with the gas cap off. Then what you do is you put this guy off, put the cap back on, go back to your gas tank, and then just run a tube in the filler neck and keep discharging the can down into your tank. You can even turn it upside down too to really get it in there. After that, put your gas cap back on, hook this back up to your EVAP port under hood, and then you can lightly pull this nozzle to let the gas pressurize the system some. You can even have a coworker just every once in a while just give it a little burst just to make sure the system stays pressurized, or even tee off a pressure gauge to that hose. Then you can go around and you can chase it looking for any fittings, just like a refrigerant leak in the air conditioning system. This is also good for spraying into your tires. If you're trying to find a really small leak, you can find leaks through the porosity of the aluminum mag castings with these. You just spray a bunch in, then put the Schrader back in, then pressurize it up to like 60 psi and use that leak detector. And that can work for your casting problems. For eventually the people that have tons and tons of subscribers for their channel that says, here's how I put ceramic coating on my paint. Here's how I polished my headlights. those people are going to eventually take this idea. I've never seen it anywhere on YouTube. I've never seen it used in a shop. It's just a way that I needed to figure out some way to do it on my car, and this is what I grabbed off the shelves that I had in my garage. So please do let me know if you see this anywhere else, because I'd really like to see it. But I'm sure everyone else is going to copy this eventually.